Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're back on GT Sport and we're back with the FIA Nations race at Suzuka in Group 3. So for this race there was a mixture of cars, mainly the Nissan GTR, the Porsche and a few people trying the Audi. I was one of the drivers actually going for the Audi in this race. You can see starting from pole position, an Audi RC Snake. Now this is one of the reasons why I decided to pick the Audi, was because it had a very strong qualifying chance in this race, and Suzuka is a track that is actually quite hard to overtake in Group 3. However, this is why some people clearly deciding to pick the GTR, as the straight line speed of that car would be able to get past cars like the Porsche and the Audi. You can see I was managed to get a reasonable qualifying and put myself in P4 in this first slot of the day race. Some very strong drivers in this lobby, so very happy with the qualifying session. I didn't expect really to be that high up. I think there was more potential actually in the lap. I expected the time to be a bit faster than what they were, so I was quite surprised to actually be starting this race from P4. However, one thing about this race is the Audi R8, the tyre wear was quite high, and the Audi R8 is not very good on tyre wear, especially at tracks like Suzuka where it really becomes quite worn out on the rear tyres because of the way the track is. And I expected the Porsche obviously to be insanely strong in the race conditions, because the Porsche is so good on tyre wear. It has so much traction. We've seen that in the wet conditions that have been added on GT Sport recently, so you can see just how strong that Porsche is for traction, and that's why it's so good on tyre wear. And a lot of people also picking the Nissan GTR because in general that car will wear the fronts out more than the rear, so you can just play with the brake bias to ensure that the rear still has traction, and then you don't wear too much out in the front as well. And also that car's got insanely good straight line speed, so that Nissan would literally breeze past the Audi R8 if it gets anywhere near the rear. But my aim in this race was to basically hold on for as long as possible in P4 and see if we can get a top 5 in this race, because the top 5 I would have 100% took a top 5 in this race going into the slot 1. And to be fair, a top 5 should be good enough for 2.4 2.5k points, and that would have been fine for me. So we're starting a P4 right behind TRL Lightning in front of us there. We're going to try and hang on to that Nissan for as long as possible. Obviously in a straight line that car is insane, and basically I think after a few laps this Audi starts to really struggle with the tyres. I have my bias all the way to the front, so you're going to see what I'm doing during this race is because you have to really be cautious to look after the front tyres. You're going to see me shifting quite late into corners, so doing a lot of the braking before starting downshifting as Lightning there got a little bit sideways through turn 1, which helped me get very close to him. Now this is where the strength of the Audi R8 is. Obviously my aim to stay as close as possible to the cars in front. You'll see me using mixture 2 every now and then as well through this the first twisty section, mainly to try and just dole the power to the rear tyres a bit, just to help them last as long as possible, because it's going to be a real effort to make this Audi last to the end of the race. You can see RC Snake there in the front pushing on, and the Audi pretty much the strongest car really in terms of lap 1 maybe, and also probably lap 2. However, after then it fades off massively, and I think that the Nissan GTR was actually really strong around there, and specifically in race conditions because of the straight line speed. You can see there Lightning putting Williams Giorgio under a lot of pressure at the moment, and I've got Matu behind me in that Porsche, which was going to be a threat more so towards the end than it would be at this early stage, because in this early stage the Audi actually in the end of 4th gear and 5th gear actually has a bit more straight line speed than the Porsche. However, obviously once that tyre wear kicks in, it's going to really affect me. So again, you can see me putting that mixture 2 on to try and just on the acceleration zones, just to try and dole the power a little bit. And because I'm in the slipstream, I don't really need to worry about being in mixture 1 all the time, and any little bit of tyre saving that I can do is going to be advantage towards the end of the race, as we now come into 130R, trying to stay as close as possible, but in dirty air very hard to take that with a lot of speed. But obviously the Audi R8 loves corners like that as we go into the braking, and what you'll see again is trying to do a lot of the braking before I start shifting. We're not going to be aggressive on the downshifting. We're going to wait before we're into the apex before, you know, getting a lot of that shifting done as we now go onto the main straight to start lap 2. And we're still in the slipstream with Lightning there. You can see that Lightning clearly had more speed than Giorgio, I think, at this stage. He was right up behind him, putting him under a lot of pressure, and I think Lightning probably just trying to conserve his tyres during these few laps to save some tyres for the end when he knows that their tyres are going to be fading. Because Lightning, I think it's safe to say, I think a lot of people will agree, in terms of tyre wear, Lightning has an ability much higher than most other drivers in terms of looking after tyres. He can really look after his rears or his fronts or whatever, whichever tyre he needs to look after. Lightning can tend to look after that tyre and make it last pretty much more than any other driver I've seen on GT Sport. So we're just going to try and hang in there in P4. And basically what we're going to be doing in this race is a defensive drive, and that's how I knew it would be like that. It was 100% the tactic I was going into this race with, was get myself qualified as high as possible, and then first few laps you're okay, and then it's a case of defending right into the end. Now I know I can do this at this track. You may have seen it previously on another video when we had Tidgney right behind in the Audi R8 with fresh tyres, and I was in the Porsche with worn tyres, and I was able to defend by just taking the correct lines, putting the car in the correct place. The only real overtaking opportunity someone will get is into turn 1 and possibly the final chicane. They're the main opportunities. Also sometimes it's possible to make a move into the hairpin, but midway around the track, but again that's quite a difficult one because it's not that long of a straight, especially in group 3. You're there in the braking pretty much as soon as you come out of the corners. Still just hanging into the slipstream of Lightning in front, and you can see this is one reason why I think they need to get rid of this higher slipstream, because you're still picking up the slipstream from 1 second back, and it really does help you stay with cars that are probably a bit faster than you as we go into the braking again, trying to look after them rear tyres into mixture 2, trying to preserve as much life out of them tyres as possible, specifically through here as well. On the acceleration, you see how I don't put it into 1 until I'm halfway through that corner, because one mix shift while turning and getting the power down in the R8 can use up a little bit of rear life. So not really worrying. This was not a fuel saving race. The only reason I'm doing that mixture 2 is just to try and save the tyres, because you're not going to lose a massive amount of time really. You basically don't lose any type real lap time, because we're in the slipstream of the car in front anyway. It's going to give me a bit better front end because we're not going to be putting as much power in, and also it's going to be preserving them rear tyres, putting a little less force through the rear tyres so they don't spin up as much. And that is what causes tyre wear on these Group 3 cars and the ML cars, is when the rear tyres are spinning, when you're going for tractions. Even corners like this coming out of it, you'll see it starts getting a little bit sketchy as you go through the race. But at the moment, I'm doing a really good job in this Audi R8. The tyre wear is looking okay. I have my brake bias, obviously, for an MR car like the Audi R8, all the way to the front, so 5 to the front bias. That helps save the rear tyres as much as possible, because all the brake forces go into them front tyres, and less heat generated in the rears, which causes less tyre wear as well as we go through to this hairpin. And again, Lightning all over Giorgio in front of us. You can see he's looking for a way through. I think he's starting to get now to the point where he thinks he needs to try and find a way through, but very hard obviously, because Giorgio is picking up that slipstream with the Audi R8 in front of him, and obviously the GTR is extremely fast. So for Lightning to get past, he really needs either the Audi in front of Giorgio to disappear, or to Giorgio to get past with Lightning to get past the Audi at the same point, but that would be extremely difficult. But at this point, you can see just hanging on to that slipstream, which is helping me out as well. We've got Matthew behind us, putting me under pressure as well, but it's not that bad at the moment. We're at the end of lap 3, not under a massive amount of pressure. You can see actually going through there with a purple sector, and was on quite a good lap at this point. And again, we're not really pushing, we're not going for the fastest laps. I'm just trying to survive. That is the main aim of this race, to create, as much tyre wear left on the last lap. The last lap, I think, with the Audi was insanely bad. In practices, it was about 4 or 5 seconds off the Porsche, and I think from lap 4, the Porsche was much faster. It started being over half a second faster on lap 4, what we're on now, and then lap 5, it was probably over a second faster, and lap 6, 7, etc. It was just constantly being faster. So it's going to be a defensive race, but the advantage I've got is in fourth, fifth gear, the Audi's a bit faster than that Porsche, and he's going to have the dirty air. I'm just starting to struggle now to stay with the 2 GTRs in front of me. And also what you can see as well is Snake in the Audi seems to be struggling. I'm actually gaining a bit on Snake. So Snake seemed to be struggling with that tyre wear also during this phase. I don't know what sort of tyre wear saving he had been doing at this early stage. But coming through to the midway stage in this race, by the end of this lap we'll be midway through it, and it does look like I've got the pace to match Snake up in that lead. But them GTRs do look very strong. You can see that they're gaining, and my guess is at this stage Lightning would have been just doing 100% tyre saving, so he can push more towards the end of the race. You can actually see he's starting to really work Giorgio from corner to corner, and you can see that Porsche up on my inside, so I'm having to be very defensive while trying to stay in the slipstream. I also had my little one come into the room during this race and started talking to me, which did put me off a little bit, and helped contribute to me losing a bit of slipstream. But it wasn't the end of the world. As long as we stayed reasonably close, it wasn't that much of an issue. You can see that the Porsche, even though it's going to get the slipstream, what you'll see now is as we get on the main straight, as long as I go to the left, he's going to pick up that slipstream, but because of the power of the Audi in 4th and 5th gear, it just has a bit more, I think it might be aerodynamic based or a bit more power in them gears, able to rev it out a bit more. It's just so hard for that Porsche to get past, and that is one of the problems with the Porsche. You have to qualify high. It does have better tyre wear, but because it hasn't got much straight line speed, it does have difficulties in terms of overtaking, and that is one of the reasons why I wanted to go change manufacturers around to try and find the car with a bit more straight line speed when it came to the manufacturer series as well. Again, you can see I go to the inside here, and now because this is the strength of the Audi over the Porsche, the 5th gear, you can see that Porsche just can't really make a move down that left hand side, so I'm able to just brake, hold it to the apex, make sure that I don't run too deep into the corner, and again just hold the apex and control that line. There's no real way he can go past on the left hand side as long as I hold the inside there, and now he's stuck behind through this very tricky technical section again. So managing to hold on to P3 at the moment, because as you can see, RC Snake actually got disconnected from the race, so that really helped Lightning at this point now, because you can see Lightning all over Giorgio, because Giorgio does not have that slipstream now, and you can see they're pulling away because obviously the FR car much more suited to this track once the tyre wear kicks in. Now this Audi actually becomes extremely tricky. Now the Porsche was probably even faster than the GTR, but it was pretty much impossible to overtake that GTR in the Porsche. However, the GTR can fly past pretty much any car. I've not seen a car with as much straight line pull in the final gear as that GTR. I think we saw it in a FIA race that we streamed yesterday. I was outside the slipstream. We had Doffra outside of our slipstream over a second back. I was picking up a slipstream from a Lamborghini in the 4 GT, which is a very fast car as well, and the GTR actually was gaining on me even though he didn't have a slipstream. So insane the speed of that car. And you can see now Lightning up ahead, looks like he's positioning his car for a move there. You can see Giorgio gone to the left hand side to go defensive. We've got Matu right behind me with TRL Adam. I was very aware that TRL Adam was in P5, also in a Nissan GTR, so I wanted to try and keep that Porsche behind for as long as possible really, because if I can pick up a podium in this race, it would be an insanely good result, especially driving the Audi, because I think most drivers tended to fall back quite aggressively in the Audi with its poor tyre wear as we go through the chicane again. Final time in that mixture 2 again, trying to be very careful on the throttle. You can see how I'm just slowly feeding it in with that M1 mixture until we're straightening the car up a little bit, and now again over to that right hand side, very defensive. I can see that that Porsche is not really going to be able to go for a move. He's gone to the left hand side. I'm just going to go to that left hand side, cover the inside again, brake nice and early, hold the car to the apex, and again no way round for the Porsche at this point of the track. But you can see up ahead Lightning really putting Giorgio under a lot of pressure now, and also this is going to be the trickiest part. These last few laps in the Audi R8, lap 6, 7 and 8, were extremely difficult. You can see that rear tyre wear kicking in, and the Audi, once it starts to wear them rears out more than the fronts, becomes a very, very tricky car to drive. It really doesn't like getting on the power through corners, even corners that were fairly simple, flat out like that left-hander there. Once this tyre wear kicks in, it becomes very tricky as we go through the 2 right-hand corners, down into second gear, trying to clip the apex, very nicely done there. Staying in mixture 2 again, you can see, trying to basically every time I've got an ability or an option to save tyres without him being too close. Again, you can see I'm covering that inside line there and just holding the apex so he can't get on the power, and then getting on the power quite aggressively there, because I felt like the Porsche might have the ability with the slipstream to make a move into the spoon corner, but advantage got a really decent exit from that corner. So back into mixture 2 and able to again go into tyre saving mode. And this is really important, because now at this phase of the race, the actual mixture 2 will actually help me on traction as well and make it a little bit easier, because you're not going to be putting as much power when that tyre wear's kicked in, and it's going to make it a little bit more drivable. So that's another reason why we're using that mixture 2 now. As we're coming into 130R, you can see I'm going to have to go defensive. That Porsche going over to the right hand side, I'm going to cover the right hand side. I can see that the Porsche, no real way he was going to be able to go through there, and again he picks up that dirty A, runs a little bit wide, and now TRL Adam, we have TRL Adam right behind me as we're getting close to Giorgio there. Giorgio seemed to be struggling there, as I think Lightning made a move. I actually seen that on Lightning stream. Lightning went for the inside line, he had the corner, he was over, I think he was just past the car lengths ahead in the apex, but Giorgio just turned in a slight fraction too early, and they had a little collision. Giorgio ran wide, and Lightning took the lead. It was a fair move though. I think it was all 100% fair. I don't think Giorgio was too happy at the time. However, I'm sure after looking back on it, he would probably agree that Lightning had the right to go for that move there, as we now have TRL Adam in P4 in the GTR right behind me, and we're in the phase now, lap 7 and 8, when the Audi R8 is nearly undrivable. It gets to the point on lap 8 where you are literally surviving around the track. So if I can hold on to this P3, it would be amazing. However, we have the GTR right behind me, which is going to be insanely fast on that straight, and I really wanted to try and get in the slipstream with Giorgio. You can see me pushing, but you can see the power of that Nissan GTR just taking it away from me, trying to really push through these corners. You can see me really hustling this Audi just to try and get as close as I can. I realise now at this point I'm not going to get that slipstream from Giorgio. The GTR just has too much tyre wear left. We're going to come into this braking point. I'm going to try and hold the apex and try and defend against Adam, but I think it was pretty inevitable. It was basically going to happen. You could just see it in the mirror. Watch how much the closing speed is as we come to the end of the straight now. Insane speed out of this Nissan GTR. You can see the delta going from over 3 tenths, and it's all the way down under 2 tenths now. And now you can see going into this final the spoon corner before we get onto the long straight, and this is where it's going to be really a battle to stay ahead. And I think I went defensive here now to the left hand side because I was going to try and go defensive, but just look at the delta decreasing. I realised there's no point. What I decided to do was be tactical here and let Adam go, take that line, let him have that corner because he would have got it no matter what, and then tuck him behind him and try and now use Adam's car for a bit of slipstream to defend against that Porsche, because I could see that Porsche was going to be able to have a go at me now down this main straight. So what we're doing now, we're going to try and come out that corner. You can see I've just about got the slipstream to TRL Adam as we have a little moment there. The Porsche goes down the right hand side, but because I've now got the slipstream to TRL Adam, look at this now. You can see that this is now going to help me defend against the Porsche. We have much more speed down the straight, and now all we've got to do is hold on to this position all the way for the final lap. Just look how difficult this is becoming to drive now. The car is sliding around everywhere. We're in mixture 2. We're just trying to hold on as much as I can against the much stronger, much better car of the Porsche at this stage of the race. The Porsche was probably over 2 seconds a lap faster at this point, but again, this is Suzuka. If you position your car correctly, if you put it in the right place, if you defend hard, as long as you cover the lines, it's very hard with the dirty air for that Porsche to be able to make a move. They've got to really basically find a way of making your car work from left to right and getting you out of sync with the corners. But as long as you're pretty clever with your defensive driving, you should be able to defend it. You can see just how much Giorgio has pulled away, and Lightning absolutely flying away on this final lap with the extra tyre wear that he's got in that Nissan GTR. And you can see all 3 GTRs in P1, 2 and 3 as a Porsche there, having a look down the right hand side but not able to go for that move. I'm going to hold the apex and then really get on the throttle. We're going to use all the tyre life left in this car all the way to the end. Now there's not much left at all. It's beginning to struggle through the corners. You can see he's having a look down the left there, but again, he's not got the power really in that Porsche to really go for a move. So I'm just going to hold my normal line there. Don't need to go defensive. As long as I hold it in narrow to this apex, you can see how I'm kind of positioning the car so he can't make a move. And now onto the apex early, getting on the power, staying in 1 mixture this time. You'll see I didn't drop it down to 2 mixture because I'm trying to get as much exit speed as possible. So we're going to go defensive on the left hand side for the final time into 130R. The Porsche is going to try and go down that right hand side, but he's just not got the speed. You can see I'm going to brake nice and early, make sure that I get the apex sorted over to the right hand side. He's not going to be able to get the move there because the car, again, he hasn't got the straight line speed as we go into the braking, and again, he can't make that move. Great defensive driving. Not really much you could do in that Porsche because it's lacking in power. But now we come to that final corner where it's really difficult in the Audi to put the power down. But that Porsche really plants it down and just about managed to go to the finishing line in P4 and take a very well-earned P4, I'd say, driving the Audi R8. You can see the next Audi R8 driver was in P9. Also obviously struggling with the tyre wear. So you can see 3 GTRs and then a Porsche and then GTRs and then Porsche and then another Audi and then mainly Porsches after them. But that is the weakness of the Porsche. It struggles to get past, and I managed to pick up nearly 2.5k points from that race. So a reasonable result. I decided to call it a day with that points. No point racing again with the current disconnection situation going on GT Sport. Was very happy with picking up them points and moving on to another race. I hope you enjoyed that video. I thoroughly enjoyed that race. A very tactical race. I did decide to go for that way of doing it, going for the better qualifying car because it was, again, a very short race. And another reason why I think we need need to try and increase each length for these FIA races, just so that we have some strategy in there in terms of pitting, and also to make it a bit more choices with car, because you can go a car that's not very good in the race and still manage to hold on to a reasonable position just because of qualifying high, and that I think needs to change. We need these races to be, I think, at least 25 minutes long, and hopefully in the future they will think about doing that. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that video. Make sure you give it a thumbs up if you did. Also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed, and click that notification button so you don't miss any future videos. Thanks again for watching, everyone.
Thank you.